think that's the biggest issue
Yes.
in our business is communication with everything that we do. That's why a lot of vendors fail with dealerships because their communication isn't there.
Yeah.
There's not enough training. I believe that when we hire salespeople into a dealership, we need to train them for a month, put them on a training salary. We need to put them through, if you have a BDC, you need to put them through the BDC so they understand how the leads are originated. They need to know what Edmunds.com is and TrueCar is.
Welcome to the Matador Buscast. Tune in for everything you need to know to stay in the know regarding the automotive industry. Here's your host, Jason Harris.
Hey, what's going on, Podcast Nation? It is Jason Harris here, and thank you for joining me on an episode of the Matador Buscast. That's right, I said Buscast. I have done podcasts on planes, trains, automobiles, and yachts.
It's like the movie.
But I've never done one on a bus, and I am here with Mr. Stan himself. Stan, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Oh,
the
never
Stan.
better.
You know what? I don't even have to see your last name. I'm just going to say The Stan.
I love it.
That's actually what I'm going to name this podcast. Can I name the podcast The Stan?
Yeah, I want to start a podcast. That just might be it.
Okay.
Might have to do that.
Do it. Do it.
I'm
Let me know.
gonna
I'm
credit
making the logo for you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Stan, man, thank you so much for taking the time to come jam with me. I've been really looking forward to this, dude. Man, I love you. I love your passion. All right. You're authentic. Look, you're just you.
I appreciate that.
You know, and I also love, your amazing love for all things cigars. Like,
Yes.
I mean, come on. If I'm ever looking for one, I just need to go find this guy right
Yes.
here, right here. This is Mr. Cigar Connoisseur right here. Okay. Hey, for everybody out there watching, listening right now, don't know who you are, all right? I love kicking off these podcasts with a little origin story. A, because I'm just always fascinated, right? Because no one wakes up and goes, hey, I should be in the automotive industry.
Sure.
So let's start there. Stan, how did you get started in this crazy little world we call the automotive industry?
Sure. So 20 years old, going to school, to college to be a school teacher. Was living with my parents, was working 7 years as a lifeguard, supporting myself, paying all my bills, paying for college. And then all of a sudden, my parents decided to move out of state. And I decided I'm going to get a job where I'm going to be taken more seriously so I can dress better. And I got into the car business against my father's wishes. He was a Lexus technician and sold the first couple cars like a week after I trained. And basically just got to the point where I really liked it. And I had a finance manager who even said to me, he's like, oh, you want to be a school teacher? That's cute. He goes, my wife's a school teacher. What she makes in a year, I make in 3 months. And I was like, okay. And the bug bit me. And then a year later, I dropped out of school. And I made a career out of it. And then eventually I ended up, by age 23, I was a manager. I was an area director of a large Honda store. By age 27, I started Dealer Retraining, which is my training consulting company. And pretty much traveled all over the country, worked with dealers, OEMs, spoke at conferences, and got into other things. Had a social media business for a couple years. I do credit repair on the side. My whole life is about not just doing one thing. My goal is to be able to be good at a couple different things, and just to be able to skill up, level up, and just constantly improve, so I can help everyone around me.
Dude, I love it, and that is so true about you. You really are.
Thank
man.
you.
Hey. I know we have some great topics that we're going to get into, and I think this first topic is so timely right now. I think as an industry, and we've really had to kind of maybe refocus. The last couple of years, I think operations has been very, very different than what the operations is going to look like for the next couple of years. Right? What it was last couple versus next couple, I think very different. But I'd love to get your thoughts on how we kind of refocus our efforts for this year.
So my thing is, and I'm doing a lot of digital retailing or modern retailing consulting these days. I'm doing it on the OEM level. And so my thing is, I still go into dealerships and I still see, and I'm going to talk about email templates for a second. I still see, I go into dealerships and I'm like, when's the last time you changed your email templates? First of all, at this point, I'm anti-email templates unless you create like an AI-driven process where it helps you. And I call that technology-assisted selling. I mean, I didn't coin the phrase, but it's been around. And I wrote an article about that like 10 years ago, too. But my whole thing is I think that we need to really drop a lot of our egos in this business. I'll be very blunt when I say that. I feel like I go into stores, and there's still the old-school management, and, they don't want to unlock their pricing, on their DR tools. Let's just get them in. I just came out of a session where it opened my mind up to how many more conversations you can have if you just made it more, of an AI or a chat friendly situation. And so my whole thing is I'd love to see a newer breed of people come in where there's specific training set up, where we are set up to do a whole new type of road to the sale. Especially, if you're going to integrate the showroom process of it,
Yes.
I'd love to see people come into the showroom, and I'd love to see a sales department take over the right way instead of starting it all over again, not looking at, like right now they go in, they don't look at the notes, they don't know what's going on in the CRM, what the discussion was about, and it's a whole new process, which I hate using the word friction, but really all it does is create friction.
Yeah, but it's a commitment though. Like
Yes.
it's a commitment to the people and the process.
Yes.
And I think you're 100% right. I think, our focus really needs to be around what our processes are. The consumer has fundamentally changed in the last 5
Yes.
years for many, many, many different reasons. And I don't think it's doing our industry any good. And I definitely not doing any good to the customer by any means by holding on to these let's just call them, they are antiques of a process.
Yes.
The consumer today wants choices, and we have to process our way to them. You've had the opportunity to be in a lot of dealerships. So you've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. All right. What are you seeing out there right now? What are some of the processes that you've seen that are just like, yeah, that's it. I like that.
It's funny. There's not a whole lot. Even the best dealers out there, but even some of the best dealers out there that they get constantly advertised, you go in there and you find a lot of, you can literally poke holes into what they have going on. But really, I would say 1 or 2 out of 10 dealers that I go into actually are doing things in a modern approach. I worked with a dealer that uses their DR tool more than they use their CRM. And that's impressive. Like they communicate through that, and they have a process where they won't sell more than 5 to 10 miles out of their PMA, and they sell their 120 cars a month. They did eliminate delivering to the house just because it's not in the best of areas, so for safety. And they actually do a great job communicating that to the customer. If a customer wants it delivered, say we'd love to, but because of where we live, our demographic, it's just unsafe for us. And they understand it. It's all about communication, and I think that's the biggest issue in our
Yes.
business is communication with everything that we do. That's why a lot of vendors fail with dealerships, because their communication isn't there.
Yeah.
There's not enough training. I believe that when we hire salespeople into a dealership, we need to train them for a month, put them on a training salary. We need to put them through, if you have a BDC, you need to put them through the BDC so they understand how the leads are originated. They need to know what Edmunds.com is and TrueCar is so that they understand how the customer
and they're going to
shops.
get the most amount of at-bat opportunities
Yes.
to really hone in their communication skills.
Yes.
But you're absolutely right. I think one of the biggest things, if you're out there watching and listening right now, all right, one of the most important, you can tell I'm like on my 9th podcast today. The most important thing that I think you can focus on right now is the communication. Now let's talk about communication, because that goes into a lot of different places. It's your people, it's your process, and your technology. And I know that's
Yes.
where I want to go with you right now, because, we're at NADA. Wow, dude, sensory overload, right? I mean, come on. Have you ever seen so many Megatrons, or just the biggest TV screens you can possibly ever see
gets
in one
bigger
place?
every year.
Is it crazy? I know. Does it? It feels that way, right?
It
It feels
gets
like the
bigger every
TV
year.
screens just keep getting bigger and bigger
Yeah.
and bigger, right?
Yeah.
I think I saw one in there was like 20 feet long, and it was hanging over anyways, sensory overload.
Yes.
But what I'm really seeing as a theme in there is at the core of kind of a lot of technologies out there is better communication. But I'd love to kind of hear your thoughts and how we're doing with communication technologies.
There's a lot of them, and they're great. I mean, there's really a lot of great technologies. There's some great CRMs. There's some great, AI tools. There's a lot of great texting platforms, lead engagement. The problem is, and this is an issue that I found in dealerships, especially the ones that mismanage their vendors. A year ago, I went in to build a 6-store BDC. We had a texting platform, we had a CRM, we had salespeople, we had an in-house BDC and an outsourced BDC, all calling the customers. I come in on the first Saturday, 29 appointments, 2 show up, and 10 people canceled because they got tired of getting too many phone calls. And so I call that too many hands in the cookie jar syndrome.
Well, no, that's a good one. Like if we think those 3 pillars, people, process, and technology,
Yes.
they had the people,
Yes.
all right, they had the technology, they were definitely missing one of the most important parts.
Yes. So I mean that's really my issue with that is, and there's a lot of dealers that will literally hire a bunch of vendors to do different things, and then you wonder why your engagement is horrible. Then you wonder why your people are canceling appointments. I think that it needs to be simplified, and really, and no offense, dealers out there, but you guys got to drop the egos. I'm going to be very blunt. We have to really, take a step back. We need to, number one, go back to the original basics, but we need to incorporate the use of what the technology does to help us. We cannot just pay for the technology, not use it right or ignore it, and then just say, oh, let's just get them in, or I'm going to lock the price because I'm afraid that the customer is going to shop me somewhere else. They're going to shop no matter what.
Exactly. They're going to shop.
At the same time, I am still gross oriented. I'm still a car guy. There's a little bit of old school in me, but I'm just blessed that I've had that open mindedness to just continue to learn how to use technology.
Well, let's talk about usage of technology. And I love finding rabbit holes, and we'll go down this rabbit hole for a little bit, okay? Because I think we're seeing right now in, let's say, DR products. I'm just going to use DR products for right now.
Sure.
There are dealerships out there that are using the technology for themselves, and then they're the ones that are using the technology for their customers. And it seems to be a real mixed bag right now, all right? I mean, look, the technology is only as good as how well someone uses it. And, a tool's only as efficient as who's actually twisting that wrench, right? And I'm seeing the same thing. I'm seeing this amazing opportunity here, and there are some phenomenal dealers out there, all right, that are using it, are buying into the process, that are buying into the technology for the benefit of the consumer. But I hate to see it because I'm seeing a lot right now, and I see more and more, unfortunately, kind of leaning the direction that, like, no, I'm buying into for me, and it's just really turning into a lead generation product. It's not a connection product. How do we make sure that we don't let that pendulum move too far over?
We need to change the culture of our stores, because what happens is, and this drives me nuts. I'll go into stores and an owner, GM, they want to do things one way and they want to move forward, but then when you get to the GSM, sales manager, F&I level, they don't want to do it, and a lot of it is mismanagement, and a lot of it is just not implementing that culture. It should, in my opinion, it should be either you're on the bus or you're not. Get on the bus. This is how it's supposed to be done. I too, 20 years ago, did things the old school way, but this is where it's going. Okay. Our manufacturers demand it with CSI. Been doing a lot of CSI work in recent times, and I even got into the service aspect of things. It brought me back to like 2008, something that I was doing when I was 25 years old. I was running a store where I had BDC, sales manager, and a facilitator for the store for processes. And so, I had a dealer tell me over the summer that, no offense, as great as this is, I'm still worried about profitability. And my response was, I agree with you 100%. It's all about being profitable. But just think about if you took the right steps, just, for the things that are important in your CSI, if you just took the right steps and think about how much more profitable you could be. You can tie that in together. You just have to sit down with a whiteboard, lock yourself in a room and just start planning it out. I mean, nowadays you can go on ChatGPT, OpenAI, and even have it write it for you, and then you can really start to think.
No, I'm with you. We might be simplifying it a little bit because and I'm going to tell you a little bit about kind of my culture journey. Okay.
Sure.
Surprise. This might be a surprise to you, Stan. I was not really good at it. I am the first one to admit that my EQ, all right, my emotional intelligence wasn't overly great when I started in this business. I was very much so under the flying the flag of look up and do your job.
Yes.
And that's how I operated and managed for years. And it was about, let's call it 8, maybe 9 years ago, where I kind of had this moment, and I was just like, no, I'm doing this wrong. And I think the reason I knew it is because so much of the success was on my shoulders. My team wasn't empowered. All right. There wasn't a culture of helping. I had superstars. All right. I had a superstar culture. All right. I had my 2 guys just doing majority of it.
Yes.
All right. If you didn't bottom down here, you didn't sell, you were out, just like it and I had a moment. I had to go. But I tell you, the first step first step for me going down that path was really getting honest with myself, man. Right? And saying, hey, look, this is not the way to do it. This may be the way you were taught, because it's the way we were taught when we first started. That's how it was, right? There wasn't any emotion. It was suck it up, buttercup, and check it out the door. We got a job to do, you know? And I think the more that I learned about myself, became more self-aware, all right, and identified, that other people have emotions and they're okay. In fact, actually, they do amazing things in a dealership when they have a parameter to kind of work with, and then that kind of that arena is culture. But how do we get to that place? If people have to watch, like, how do they get to that place of just being honest?
I'm glad you brought that up, because it was my next thought process, right? I look at it from a standpoint of it's all about how we recruit and how we train and how we build our team. What we don't do in the industry is we don't think like a corporation. Like, you go get a job with a major corporation, the onboarding process takes 2 weeks. They have to verify everything. Then they put you through a virtual training program, and then you're going through video after video for compliance, for this, for that. And, it might feel like it's a month. Like, okay, so maybe you pay someone $500 a week, but now you're investing time and money. You spend that first month and a half putting them through those sets of video trainings, having a manager that's properly trained, or maybe if you have a corporate trainer, putting them through the ringer, so to speak. And then from there, make sure that they get all their, if it's a new car store, make sure they get all their product knowledge done. Now, I'm not saying pay somebody $50 to go take a test for you like that. That's happened. Like, do what I did. When I started selling Hondas, I literally locked myself in a room and I would take a test. And if I failed it, I would literally check which answer I got wrong, and then I would do it again. And so what would happen was I would fail a test 3 times, but on the 4th one, I'd get a 90. What would happen 6 months later down the road is when I'm with a customer selling that car, I actually knew what to say about the car, and I got my product knowledge down because I failed it on a test. And a question would come up, and I knew exactly how to answer it, And that was, circa 2003, 2004, me selling cars. And the problem is a lot of us, and I always say this in a lot of dealerships, everybody wants to get paid, nobody wants to do the job.
Yep.
And that's always been the thing. So if we were to create, and I've been thinking about this for a good 6 months now, if every dealership was to create their own virtual training platform, you could bring in myself or other trainers. You have another trainer here, right? You could bring in a bunch of trainers and then plus incorporate your own managers to create the video on demand training app or program for your store. And that's and then not only will you train them while they're onboarding, but you train them also throughout their career.
Yes.
Because you could bring in more training content. Think about what that would do inside a dealership. Then you have accountability with that. And then imagine going, hey, you didn't log into your training for 30 minutes today. I think that's I don't want to call it babysitting, but I think that's what needs to happen. Somebody's got to create that program. Maybe it's going to be me. I don't know.
Well, look, I think every good culture starts with training. I think people kind of have a tendency of thinking of culture as something that's just like, it happens. There it is. It happened. No, it all starts somewhere. And I definitely think it's the training. I mean, I remember some of the training that I originally was received in this industry. Definitely not culture-based. I still remember the video, the VHS. All right, slip the tape in. All right, I remember the guy on the screen telling me that, hey, when you need to present the engine compartment of the vehicle, you make your customer hold the hood open so that you are always maintaining control of the customer. Like, come on, man, that's not a culture, right? That's all. It's all about control. And
yes,
it's. Look, our industry, we've evolved. We need to evolve, right?
That's correct. And a lot of it's, how we say things.
Yes.
I was in a session yesterday on a service session, and you can relate this to sales or any department. It was Jennifer Suzuki's session. Shout out to Jennifer Suzuki, right? You were in my session too. And so, one of the things that she was saying was, you do a follow-up on a service customer. Hey, I noticed when you picked up your car, you had your kids with you. Did you get them to school safe? Something as simple as that. Like, we don't think about that. We just want the sale. We just want to make the money, but we don't think about what would happen if you just asked that question and showed a little care,
That's right.
And it made me think a lot, because that's been a lot of what I've been doing in my processes. I've been, conditioning myself to help train on how do we say things differently. A lot of the stuff that we do is repackaged, but
language is such a big thing right now. 100%, man. Really well said.
I was just talking to somebody this morning, and they're like, I'm tired of using the word AI. They were from a major university, right? And we need to use it a little different so the language makes more sense to the dealer.
Yes.
And that's a lot of it, and I'm blessed that when I go into a dealership, I know that I can put on my politically correct side, and then I also understand how to speak their language because I spent all these years working in dealerships, and I understand sometimes the different egos, and I also understand the successes of what it took for these people to get to where they're at. So it's nice to be able to incorporate both and take what I know and be able to just be a little more professional about it.
Dude, I love just your commitment to wanting to evolve. It's
Thank you.
obvious. It's like, no, man, look, like me, we started in the car business.
Mm-hmm.
We're old school, but no, we made a commitment to evolve, continue to grow. That's a mindset. I
Yes.
love it. I know we're getting towards the tail end of our time.
Sure.
All right. This has been so much fun. I know we could
appreciate
easily
it.
probably do a jam for a lot longer
we
than we
will.
have today. And we will.
Yes,
We will.
yes.
We will for sure, Stan, man. For everybody out there watching and listening right now and would like to connect with you,
Sure.
or follow along with your journey, what's the
Sure.
best way to connect with you?
So I'm on LinkedIn, Stan Sher. My last name is Sher. I'm on Instagram at Stan Sher or at Dealer eTraining. If you look me up on Amazon, I wrote a book. It's not automotive. I released it a little over a year ago. It's called Social Shares, the Skills That Pay the Bills. It's really more about taking every life experience and everything you learn in life and how to make something out of it. I talk about how I failed in life and how I came back a few times. I'm also in the middle of writing my next book, which I think I'm going to cater that strictly automotive. So I'm looking to partner up with vendors that want to help me supply some content that we can maybe share with the industry. I think that's over the next year. That's what I'm going to release. But I'm all over social media. I said LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. My website is dealeretraining.com. So it's dealer, the letter E, and the training.com. So you could find me there.
Awesome.
My other websites are being rebuilt right now. I'm all over the place.
Stan, I love it, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to jam with me today.
Appreciate
this has been a lot
Thank
of fun.
you. Yes, it was.
Thanks for tuning in to the Matador Podcast with your host, Jason Harris. Be sure to check out the full podcast library at matador.ai to stay in the know. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe.